Alright guys, so I've just made it to Sloane Square, just waiting on my mum. Here we are guys, we've made it to the RHS Chelsea Flower Show and it is amazing. For the first time ever, the Chelsea Flower Show is including balcony gardens, so I wanted to go and see all of the balcony garden exhibits. But let me show you what I found along the way. Some of the flowers were just simply stunning. Normally the Chelsea Flower Show is held earlier in the year. This is September, so the designers had to be really inventive with the flowers and plants that they used in their displays. To even see such beautiful colours in the middle of September was absolutely amazing. So I'm standing in front of the balcony exhibits and it is really quite interesting. There are some really unique spins on balcony gardens. Are they practical? Are they what we do with our balcony gardens? Probably not. But I'm going to unpack that a little bit for you a little bit later. Here's the balcony garden section, and as you can see, each designer was given the same proportions to work with. The first one that we're going to see is called Arcadia. Some of the main features of this balcony garden was the pomegranate tree and the beautiful door, almost like Narnia, taking you into a magical world. The plants featured were mainly tropical. We then have the green sky pocket garden. Almost every inch of this garden had something growing in it. The garden featured lots of edible plants and some flowers to attract pollinators. This garden is designed to be the antidote for living in the city. The vegetation cloaks the garden and comes out from underneath the paving slabs on a balcony. Yes, a balcony. Anyway, this one's called the Sky Sanctuary. The garden represents having a small space, but having your own sanctuary in a busy world. The balcony of blooms represents a practical and enchanting garden. Its border was full of different grasses and herbs. It was one of the gardens that was probably the most similar to what it is that we try to achieve with our gardens. There were a few more gardens, I just didn't get the chance to film them because it was so busy. Make sure you stay tuned to the very end because I'm going to discuss how I felt about the balcony gardens. This was my favourite piece. It's called Finding Our Way, the NHS Tribute Garden. The tall structures represent the hardship that the NHS has been through the past year. The beautiful bold colours represent hope, and the multiple different waterways are all connected. I'm going to give you a second just so that you can appreciate it as well. From the colours to the sound of the running water, this was simply stunning. This garden is called the Calm of Bangkok. As part of the Sanctuary Gardens, it gave a really calming aspect, a real place to hide away. If you've never been to a show before, all of these gardens that I'm showing you are purpose-built installations. Imagine the amount of time and planning that the garden designers have taken to create some of these fabulous displays. This was one of my other favourites. It's called the Finnish Soul Garden. It's filled with Baltic vegetation and even a sauna. It's meant to be overlooking the sea and relevant islands. All the plants here can survive on the Finnish coastline. Amazing. Here are some other gardens that really sparked my interest. The mixture of different colours, heights and foliage was so impressive. The M&G garden explores the intricacies of having a beautiful garden in an urban area. It was originally planned to be in 2020, but the show was cancelled. The designers had to redesign parts of the garden to make sure that they had the right plants and perennials for September. They've used repurposed industrial materials, including this pipework. It was also really cool to see houseplants taking a centre stage appearance at the Chelsea Flower Show. In fact, they had a whole little village dedicated to houseplants. But this exhibit was out of this world. Now, if you saw the video when I visited the RHS Tatton Park show, you'll know that at 4 o'clock is when all the sellers sell off their plants. And I can tell you this now, it was pandemonium here at Chelsea. So in true Cloud Gardener style, may or may not have picked up 1 or 2 items. I'm with my mum today and you will see where I get it from. At least it wasn't just us. I mean, look at this. Oh my gosh. But look at my own mother. If you follow me on TikTok or Instagram, you will recognize this beauty right here. It was hilarious. All day everyone was trying to be classy, and it got to 4 o'clock and everyone's scrambling to fill their trolleys. Right guys, this is where I get it from. I blame my mother. Just look at this. Yeah guys, so it's the day after and I just wanted to round up my thoughts on yesterday. I'm just in my 5-star luxury hotel room. So excuse the bleak lighting, but you know, it is what it is. All of the designers did an absolutely amazing job. The flowers, they were so decorative, they were really, really beautiful. Each one of them, and they had their own little unique spin, and it made it really, really interesting to see other people's perspectives on balcony gardening. But here comes the but. Please, RHS, if you're watching this, any of the designers, if you're watching this, don't cancel me. I just ended up feeling some type of way, and I think the problem was I went in there in the mindset of thinking, I'm gonna get to see some balcony gardens, but the reality is that they weren't reflective of my garden or of anyone else who's in my Facebook group. I don't particularly know any balcony gardener who doesn't have a container on their balcony garden. There was an opportunity to really show the world what balcony gardening is like and some of the trials and tribulations from it. A lot of them had these massive trees on their balcony gardens. You know, I did laugh because some of them, obviously to make a display, you know, you've got to have your different height ranges in terms of your garden design. And so for me to see a lot of structures with vertical growing was amazing, but I don't know how many of us actually have these giant archways in their garden. And I did laugh because actually you look at the Cloud Garden and yes I do have arches. But I can also attest to the arches, although they look great, are not actually very good or beneficial for my balcony garden at all. That's a separate video though. There are just so many unique aspects of balcony gardening. So whether it's dealing with the wind, pests, rain, you name it, none of that was really reflected in the installations that I saw, and it kind of upset me a little bit because I really was hoping that there would be a little bit more conversation about it. So I wanted to see some pieces that would encourage people to use their balconies, but also kind of show them the realities of balcony gardening, but there was just none of that. And I think to myself, somebody needs to be able to do that. Those of you who don't know, I have a Cloud Gardener Facebook group. I'm going to leave the link to that in the description below, but I really want to showcase some of the balcony gardeners in my group who have done the most spectacular things with their gardens. And I want them to have a bit of credit as well for everything that they've achieved with their gardens. For me, one of the elements that was missing from some of the balcony gardens were the fact that we are quite diverse in what it is that we grow. Normally, it's not just your cut flowers. Normally, we are trying to incorporate our flowers along with growing our own food. So there was no kind of sustainability. For example, a lot of us balcony gardeners are really into growing tomatoes. Now, bear in mind, it had been pushed back to September. I understand the thought process. You're probably not going to have any real fruit growing by that point. So I do take that on board. There was one of the balcony exhibits which included a lot of medicinal herbs into their garden, and that was probably the closest actually to what a balcony garden normally looks like in terms of mixing up the different plants. A lot of us grow all sorts of different fruit and veg alongside our flowers, so it would have been really nice to see a couple of gardens where there was a mixture and it wasn't just so decorative. I am going to try, with your help, I'm going to try and see if next year I can make it to the RHS Chelsea Flower Show and actually be able to have an installation or even just a stand, something to be able to talk to you, to other balcony gardeners about the realities of gardening, just so that we are giving a realistic prospect of what balcony gardening is. So if you want to see that, make sure that you're following along, and please go onto social media at whoever needs to be added and help me make this possible. Once again,